she's always brought honor to my name, and I pray I always do the same for her.
So our biggest thing I think is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
There is no bad food, it's just how you use it.
Thank God that I was in the season of receptive to his word.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, welcome to Inch Journey. I'm Kylie, your host. As a homeschool mom of 7 years raising neurodivergent child, I've learned small conversations can change people's life. Today, I'm sitting down with my dear friend Kimberly and her husband John to talk about how they pursue pro bodybuilding while working full-time and raising 2 little children. Welcome, Kimberly and John.
Thank you so much.
I've been looking forward to this opportunity for a long time.
So have we. So absolutely.
Thank you. And Kimberly, I remember when I met you at the gym probably 2 years ago. And look at your small frame, but beautiful muscle, and you caught my attention immediately.
Oh,
And then I started a conversation with you, and then I realized, wow, this lady has a beast inside of her. I didn't know you were a bodybuilder. That was why I thought, well, let's have this conversation. When I just started homeschooling 7 years ago, I kept myself on the back line, and I put everything on the kids and family, and I put on a lot of weight. And I hope if I do all this again, I will put myself first. And I think it is not a selfish way, but I also want to hear the experienced parents like you have a purpose in also keeping the good relationship and a good family. So I'd like to ask you first, what do you achieve today? Can you tell our audience what you accomplished?
so with the last show, I was able to get my pro card with OCB.
Oh, wow.
So it's a natural bodybuilding competition. I had awesome ladies that we were competing against. So it was definitely a big shocker to be able to go through this prep and then have a big reward at the end of it. But able to do that and move on.
Yeah.
Because that qualifies you for a little bit more competition at a national level. So that's my goal next, is to compete at a little bit more competitive.
Yeah. Pro level is not a give. Yeah. It's,
level.
It's for sure.
So
Ups the ante a little bit. Yeah.
What is your goal? Your I would say immediate goal, and then your future goal, right?
just to have fun, honestly.
Oh, wow.
That's my goal. I enjoy competition, and I enjoy prep is hard, but it gives you a goal to attain, and it teaches you a lot about just like discipline and just prioritizing, time management. Just there's always something to work towards every day and to prep for. So it kind of has taught me with time management, managing our family, our food, gym time, everything. But yeah, goal is just to have fun with it, honestly.
That's a surprising to me.
Yeah.
I talked to many bodybuilders, even from our gym, right? There are a few of them. They have a different thoughts about the journey of the bodybuilding. And it's miserable, especially going through that prepping time. I thought to try a couple of times, and then I guess my own discipline was not there. And also the mentality, I would think, I need to go through a very tough journey, and it's a big decision, but you want to have fun. That is a whole different mentality. I want to know even more about it, how your thought process about that. Before we get there, how many times have you been competing?
I've been competing for the last 4 years.
4 years. And do you remember?
Actually, 2 years.
2 years, yeah. You've been in training, like heavy training for 4.
Yeah.
And then it was probably about 18 to 24 months into that training where she was like, let's give this a goal, let's give this something to shoot for, instead of just coming in here and going through the grind every day, and really that was kind of my why behind it is, if you're going to go through the motions and, you know, learn the thing and become good at that particular skill set and develop that skill, then it's like, what's the way that you can test that? You know, there's no real test other than jumping on stage and literally inviting people to judge your body.
Right.
You know, that's when it gets very real. You've done your homework. You know, I've referenced before in certain posts online and stuff like that, where there's like multiple pillars involved in bodybuilding, you know, and they're non-negotiable. It's, you know, there's no shortcut. I don't care if you're enhanced or natural. We prefer the natural route just because it's more in line with, you know, a lot of what we do in other areas of life. But either way, there's no easy button. You know, the pillars are the pillars. You have to have, you know, are you hydrated? Are you getting sleep? How are your macros? How are your micros? Are you pushing in the gym? You know, is it? And so there's 5 right there. I mean, there's actually like closer to 9 if you get really deep into it.
Lots of boxes to check off.
Lots of boxes. And the champions, the people that win, do all of those excellently, you know. And so then it's a thing of, okay, well, if you've done 80% of those with 90% efficiency, well, congrats on your 3rd position, you know. So that's kind of the boat that I've been in the last couple of years. I've taken a bit more, I won't say casual approach with it, because in the middle of prep, it does not feel casual. I mean, it feels like, you know, utter hell, honestly, because you're saying no to everything when you're starving. You know, you've got, of course, young kids, you know, they have a knack for indulging in the most decadent stuff and not eating at all. You know, so you have that mental aspect of watching them throw away a slice of pizza in front of you, and you're like, you know, I could really go for that, you know. So that's something you have to overcome. But yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, when you show up on stage, you're up there with other competitors who have been on the exact same journey. They've had the exact same temptations, the same battles in their head. You know, and the battle between your ears is one of the toughest battles. I was talking to a good friend of mine because, you know, and Kim can attest to this, you know, we've had a lot of excellent influences at the gym. Mm-hmm. People that, you know, and it's funny because especially amongst men, we come in there with this kind of like bravado, you know, we're tough guys, right? Until you get through that armor, and then you realize, okay, these guys are dads. You know, they're if they're younger, you know, they may be just trying to figure out who they are in life. And so a lot of that toughness can be a facade. Sometimes it's genuine, but most times it's kind of like a safety wall, you know. And then they figure out you don't have an agenda, or they figure out that you're a genuinely good guy. And so then it's the dap ups start happening, and then you start sharing advice and getting input from everybody. And so that community has been surprisingly supportive. That's one thing that I did not plan on. I thought it was going to be very cutthroat, very judgy, very critical, and it's even more amplified backstage. You get backstage at the show, and everyone is each other's cheerleader back there. It's crazy. At least,
it's a great community.
Yeah, at the level that I've competed, there's no animosity towards each other. It's congrats on getting here.
You're with like-minded people.
Exactly.
You know, everybody has kind of gone through the same kind of journey.
Yeah.
You just understand each other more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you haven't been through it, it's hard to understand kind of the discipline it takes to, like he said, say no to a lot of food that gets thrown away and scraps that are left. So it's nice when you're at the show and you're with like-minded people, or at the gym, and you're kind of going through the journey together.
One of my buddies, I was talking to him, I said, the hardest rep we do is getting in the truck and driving here and getting out. That's the hardest workout I do all day, you know, because there's so many days where you're just mentally tapped out and I just want to sit on the couch and become a potato. And, but you go because, you know, you've made a commitment to yourself, to others. If you're a yapper like me, you've posted about it online. So now you feel accountable not to screw this up in front of everybody, you know, because everybody's like, okay, all right, bodybuilder, you know, let's do this. And you're like, I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can't.
And you gotta have kids watching.
Yeah.
That's our biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest motivator for us is we have kids, we have young eyes watching. And when we make a goal, and we want to make sure that we stick to it, and we want to show them that even if it's hard, follow through, complete it. If you've told yourself you're going to do it and you've made that commitment, you're going to follow through and do it.
Yeah. That was the thing that kept me in this last competition, truth be told, because this prep was a lot more difficult than my last one for multiple reasons, and a lot of those were self-inflicted. A lot of it was my ignorance on how the body reacts to certain durations of cut versus prep versus rebuild versus recomp. It's like there's so many variables. And, if you do them perfectly, it's a challenge. And if you do them imperfectly, like I did, then it's very uphill. So I knew going into the show, I was like, I'm not nearly at the target that I want to be. In your brain, you're like, all right, 16 weeks, 20 pounds, let's get this, right? And then you're 8 weeks away and you're like, I've still got 15 to go, right? It's this. And so, the alarm bells start going off. And at one point I was literally, in discussions with my coach about, should I just pull out? Should I quit to save face, so to speak? Because I was like, the package I'm going to bring to stage is not at all what I think is even the standard, let alone am I happy with myself? It's like, I don't even think it's remotely competitive. And so she was like, she's like, I'm not going to be disappointed or hate you if you quit, but it's a personal choice. And she's like, you do what you need to do. But like she said, I had Isaac watching, I had Zayla that, they're 5 and 7, but they're taking notes when mom and dad quit. It actually became a much better result, or it produced a better result than I had planned on for both of us. I think we both exceeded what we had originally set the bar to achieve. And so execute it as best as you can. And so then, because you don't know, it might produce a result that's much better. And in my case, I got third in Masters 40 plus, which was way higher than I expected, right? And so it's not a pro card, it's not, world champion, anything like that, but third for a professional fat guy that's behind a computer 12 hours a day, I was okay with that. I needed a goal. I knew that I was in a fairly critical position because my blood pressure was like 161 over 115 resting, which is not great. That's a really quick path for a stroke.
Before you decide to compete.
That's what made him decide
Yeah.
to start something, because he could feel he was getting to the point where he was unhealthy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't feeling great at all.
No, I felt like crap. And it was, I noticed, like I'd be outside playing with the kids and I'd be winded and I'd be, and I'm like, okay, at that time they were like 3 and 5. And I'm like, I can't be having a 3 and a 5-year-old where they're running laps around me and dad can't keep up and I'm only 40. I was like, that can't be the thing. So Kim at that point had already been on her journey of getting fit. And so, and really pursuing the competition level. And so she did her first competition in 2024. Yeah. And it was the NPC State Show, and loved the venue, loved the whole journey. And there's a gentleman that I connected with at that show, Josh McGee, super nice guy. When I say the pinnacle of fitness, he's the pinnacle. He was literally state champ 2 years in a row. But he had an awesome moment on stage because when he won overall for Physique, his kids like rushed the stage and he's picking them up and holding the trophy, holding kids. So, just an awesome moment. And I'm like, that'd be pretty cool. Like that would be a cool thing to see. And so that was a motivation to me. That was to see here's a dad. He's roughly the same age as I am, and he's killing it. And what's my excuse? I'm tired. Boo-hoo. It's time for me to step up and raise, myself to that level. And so I knew I had a smoking hot wife over here competing, and I'm like, okay, do I want to be on the Kevin James trajectory of King of Queens, or do I want to be on the, let's match her energy? Ultimately, it was accountability,
I remember when I met you at the gym, that was a few months after I talked to you before you made a decision. And we had a great time, talk about God.
Yes.
And then later on found out actually you guys were a couple.
Right.
And because I talked to her right after that, and because she was just looking beautiful. So like her body, everything, her package, right?
Fully agree.
Yeah. But I saw you at the gym. Hey, that's John. I said, yes. And what happened?
Yeah. Huge transformation.
You had a transformation.
Yeah.
It was a huge difference.
Yeah. 46 pounds is the loss that I went from February of 2025 down to the show date, which was November 8th of 2025. So we're talking basically 10 months, and 9.5, 10 months. I don't know the exact day. But yeah, 46 pounds was the journey down. So
all by diet, working out.
Yeah, and just old school. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
hey, what's your secret? There is
Grit and
none.
grind.
Yeah, consistency was the
Yeah.
secret. I had a phenomenal coach, you know, Jordan Poteet. So she's been very knowledgeable and has helped keep me on track. And of course, we do weekly check-ins, and we're, you know, I think the first prep was, I don't want to say easier because it's never easy, but I think the momentum never stopped with that one because every week my body was brand new to this. And so like every week was a major drop, major drop, major drop. And so I was just like riding the slide down, you know, saying we the whole time.
Because he really didn't care about his diet before then.
Ew.
Like-
I cared a lot about flavor.
Yeah.
But I
He
didn't
held himself accountable.
no
to-
accountability at all.
Yeah.
No, it's like, you know, you hear people say, well, if I have it at home, I won't, you know, I don't buy stuff because if I don't have it, I won't eat it.
He has a car, he'll go get it. He
If I
says.
I have a key. You know what I mean? And we live 2 miles from Publix. So, I mean, that's never a threat. You know, there would be many nights it'd be 9 p.m. and I'm like, I want a tiramisu. I'm gone, you know. So, so yeah, it was a big mindset shift for me because I went from being just opportunistic, live for today to, okay, I'm sacrificing half a year or more for 30 minutes on stage, you know? And so then it's like, gee, that, you know, there's many nights where you're like, that's forever away, but you can't say that very long. I mean, because then,
Right.
you know,
Every day counts.
every day counts. Yeah. And the math is the math. It's very unforgiving. And so, there is no, you know, I'll work a little harder tomorrow. No, you
Tomorrow
have,
has its own hard.
tomorrow. Yeah. Yesterday, the only easy day was yesterday. And, you know, the, tomorrow has its own rent that is due. And so, yeah, it's really a game of calories and math. And, if you try to cheat that math, you're gonna have a bad time.
So Kimberly, did you know if like your husband would get on your journey together doing this?
I would have never thought that prior,
Right.
but he was serious about it. And I was really amazed at his commitment and his follow through. He made a goal, and there were several times where he had some doubt,
Yeah.
like mental struggle there, but he knew how important it was for him to stay committed, especially for our children. And he did a phenomenal job. I'm extremely proud of him
Appreciate it.
for what he has accomplished so far.
Both of you, that what caught my attention was your thought process, right? Like I said, I wanted to be on that journey too. I told my husband many times, you know, one of those days I will, but I haven't get there yet. So a lot of time we make something happen is a decision,
Right.
and the why behind it, right? I like to know your why, how you started this journey. And you can pick so many different things, right? Based on your profession, you can pick, it doesn't have to be bodybuilder.
Right.
How you started your journey, what was your why?
I was uncomfortable with how I felt. After having kids, I was like, you know, we're working out. I mean, we worked out 7 days a week before, but I felt like I'm doing all this, but not getting anything out of it. Not seeing any transformation. So diet was not there. We sort of had an idea of what we were eating, but really not tracking anything.
Right.
And I had saw my friend, I had always wanted to do bodybuilding and saw that she was into it after her kids. And I was like, I didn't realize this was this attainable. Like,
Yeah.
I actually know someone who's doing it. And I told him, I was like, hey, I think I kind of want to do this. And he's like, he's always a great support system. He's like, go for it.
Yeah.
Do it. You can do it. I know you can.
Well, she always executes. I mean, she's always had that mindset of if Kim puts her mind to it, it's done. She's very intentional with everything she does. And phenomenal mother, phenomenal wife, everything. You know, she does everything with utmost intentionality. And so it's like, when she came to me and she's like, I think I want to do bodybuilding. I'm like, you got this. Go get your trophy, you know?
And I was like, oh, okay.
Right. So there was no pushback. Yeah. Cause I was just like, you know, cause I was honestly speaking, I was really wanting her to develop a hobby because I knew I could see as a husband, and I know a lot of husbands probably relate to this when I say it, but like, if you have a good wife who is a phenomenal mother, she is 7th or 8th on her list of things to attend to. She doesn't put herself first. You know, she puts her kids first, her husband first, her house first. You know, when she was like, I want to do something for me, I'm like, please do, because you need this, right? You know, I see that, you know, it's so rare for her to, I don't want to say indulge, because the journey was all about sacrifice, you know, but it was rare for her to see her do that and prioritize herself. And I was like, please do this, because I wanted her to have a win, and I wanted her to have something that felt like hers, and something that she could hang her hat on, so to speak. You know, yeah, when she mentioned bodybuilding, I'm like, not only can I see you doing this, I know you're going to crush it, because she does things with such execution. I mean, it's just, there's no accident with Kim. There's, everything she does is very well thought out and very intentional. And so I was like, you got this. So it was an honor to support her. And so then it just became a thing of, okay, which end of the day are you getting? You know, are you and luckily she's an early riser, which helps out. I'm the night owl. And so that worked out beautifully during prep for both shows, because the times of day where I would be a zombie, she's up and at 'em. And then vice versa. You know, the inverse is 100% true as well.
Because like he's saying, you know, you feel bad because it is kind of a selfish sport, because it's you that you're building, that you're changing, you're transforming.
Yeah.
So our goal, a lot of people even say, like, I don't know how you both do it at the same time in prep, but our goal was to not disrupt our family flow, not put this as a burden on our children.
Right.
To make it fruitful for our family. So we took the time out of our sleep pretty much. We sacrificed.
Yeah.
We didn't want our kids to sacrifice. This was a choice for us to do.
Right.
So we pretty much sacrificed sleep.
Much to the chagrin of my coach. Yeah, Jordan, if she ever does see this podcast, who knows? She was on me weekly, because, you know, we do our check-ins, and part of the check-in is going through all the pillars, right? You know, it's like, how's your macros, micros, how's your sleep, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. And sleep was always a laughable point, you know, when it got time to review that each week, because she's like, how's your sleep? And I'm like, 5 hours, 4 hours, you know. She's like, are you trying to, like, kill yourself? Like, you know,
Well, sleep is very important.
Which it is extremely critical, but I was kind of in a rock and hard place, because, you know, like she said, we would prioritize the kids. I would get home from work, you know, 5:15, 5:30 at night. Kids go down at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, I mean, at best, I've got 3 hours with my kids a day. And so...
we prioritize having dinner every night.
Yeah, and
together.
so we make it a habit. You know, I thought it was interesting at World Outreach, where they were prioritizing the table time, you know, and had all the tables set up and everything. And it's one of those few moments in life, you know, because it's not often for me where I'm like, hey, I'm actually crushing it there. You know, like, that's, sometimes I'm like, shucks, I need to do better. But that was one of the things that we've always prioritized, is dinner with the kids every night. Like, there's no, like, all right, go to your room with your plate or whatever. It's like, no, we have
everybody at the table.
Everybody at the table. Blessings are said over the food, and it's family time. Phones are away. TV's off most times.
Maybe some music playing.
Maybe some music, yeah. You know, but yeah, it was one of those things, and that was the focus. I mean, it meant that I would get to the gym most nights around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you got 2 hours of training. Okay, so you've got your routine or your plan that you've got to do. You know, all your lifting and everything, and then, you know, if you're a chubby boy like me trying to get down, you know, into a stage lean scenario, then it's like, okay, welcome to your 1 hour of cardio per day. So that's time, right? You know, and so then it's like, okay, I'm getting home at 11:15. So then it's like, it's not great. I'm wired. It's 11:15, right? So, you know, I'm going to do dishes. I'm going to do, you know, some odds and ends around the house. I'm going to go tinker in the garage for a little bit, you know. And so then it's like, okay, well, 6 o'clock is happening tomorrow morning, every day, you know, because then you've got to get up, get ready, get the kids out for school. So yeah, it was suboptimal is the word I would use as far as my sleep schedule, but it was really important. And she was on the other side of that. So what time do you get up?
3:30.
3:30 makes Jocko Willink look lazy. You know what I mean? He's sleeping until 4:30 every morning. So she's already on the grind, you know, and so
Basically put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
Clean up dishes and stuff, and then head to bed.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So her day starts at 3:15, mine ends at 12:30, 1 o'clock. So there's a 2-hour window where we're both asleep. It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
So I remember at that time when I met you, like I was like, "Wow, John, what happened?" Right? I asked you same question: What happened? How you made the decision? A lot of us making decision every day and make decision. I want to achieve something, but the execution is different, right? I heard this very successful entrepreneur said, well, a lot of us are willing to know a lot of knowledge, but we don't execute.
Yeah.
One thing really touched me when you tell me all this reason. You said, I want to be the good husband for my wife. My wife looks sharp, beautiful, and awesome. I don't want to be a jerk. That's exactly what you said. I don't want to be a jerk stand right next to her.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that is so touchy. As a woman, listen to that, right? Well, if we're married couple always keep that, then we always have a good present for each other.
Yes.
I think that will make a huge difference too for the relationship. And what I realized between you two, you have a very good relationship. You have a respect.
Yeah.
I can see how you see your wife, the image you have for your wife.
Sure.
So beautiful. That's also create a confidence to her for herself. Actually, wow, my husband look at me like that. If he think I can do it, I will really do it, right? But not every husband I know will see the wife that way. If I say, for example, someone said, well, I want to be a bodybuilder. I said, you sure? Yeah, you have all this health problem, or is it even possible, right? So a lot of times, the closest person of us, of ourselves, actually, if we share the dream and goal, actually they are the first one kill it. Unfortunately, could be our parents, could be our spouse or siblings. So successful people often said, be careful who you share your goal with or your dream with.
Right.
But you guys have a beautiful relationship. You see each other so beautifully, and I think that makes huge difference.
I appreciate that. I think the thing that's been consistent in our marriage is that we want to see the other one win. You know, we don't feel threatened when the other one wins. You're right, because I've noticed what you've noticed as well. Like, you know, a lot of times if the guy wants to be lazy and the woman's out there wants to conquer the world, then he tries to diminish her because he's like, you know, if she's going out there and doing all the things, then it makes him feel smaller, or it highlights what he doesn't want to do. You know, or it maybe highlights things that he doesn't want to face. So with Kim, it's always been a thing of like, we've always been in each other's corner. You know, we've always had each other's back. And, you know, we've not had a perfect marriage by any stretch. We've had lots of lessons, but we always come back to that core concept of, I want her to win. She wants me to win. Because when, you know, from the very beginning,
one of us is winning, we're both winning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like,
team.
I'm not, and there's a saying, you know, that you're only as happy as your saddest child, you know, and that's applies to mothers, you know, and fathers again as well. But, you know, I've heard it typically applied to mothers, you know, if they have, you know, one of their 5 children is going through a rough time, it doesn't matter if the other ones are killing it and doing great, that one's struggling, and that's always on your mind. So, same thing, you know, if I come home and my wife, I see she's depressed and doesn't like her body or doesn't like this or doesn't like her circumstance, I'm like, how do we fix this? You know, I want you to win, because when she's, you know, we have a joke amongst men, happy wife, happy life, right? And a lot of people say that in a dismissive tone, like, well, whatever she wants, I give it to her because I don't want to hear her complain. Okay, well, how about you turn that into a positive of when she's doing great, we're doing great. You know, if she's happy, then she's going to pour into me, you know, and so it just kind of, it's like the old game we did in college or in kids ministry at church, you know, when you try to lower a stick of bamboo and everyone's maintaining touch, it keeps getting higher and higher. And so as long as you two are in contact, you're going to level each other up consistently. So for us, it's never been a thing about competition. You know, we from day one, literally joint checking, you know, we combine resources. There's no peeking over the fence to see, okay, are you doing better than me? Are you getting more of the share? You know, am I making 80%? You're making 20%. It's just we are a unit. We are a team. And so we don't get into this scorecard between each other. She's always brought honor to my name, and I pray I always do the same for her. You know,
He does.
Yeah.
Were you guys always like that? How long you've been married?
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Were you guys always like that?
I think, well, the core sentiment, yes. I think we've learned each other's nuances, and we've learned how to handle each other's big emotion days. You know, like I know we use that term for kids a lot, you know, if they're having big emotions. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and say that every day I'm on an even keel, I'm a peach to deal with. I mean, there's days I come home, I'm like, man, life is pretty tough, you know. And typically, it's when I'm not investing in the Word. For one of the cores of just me being functional as an adult, as a man, as a husband, is where am I on my investment to faith every day? Am I investing in myself daily to read and everything else? Most days, I'm going to be candid with you. The answer is no, I haven't done that, you know. And those are the days I struggle. Those are the days where I really have to dig out and, you know, lock in, as they say, and say, okay, what's my why? You know, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, that's one thing that I heard you mention that earlier, you know your why. And that's one thing that I've said for many years in my class at World Outreach. You know, kids, and I say kids nowadays, they're grown adults, will come up to me, you know, and of course I'm a giant at 5'7", you know, so I'm looking at these kids that come up and they're fully grown 6 foot adults, and they're like, Mr. John. And I'm like, okay, hi, you know, and they're like, they still remember know your why. Because that's one of the things that we really talk about with it, is know why you're doing what you're doing. You know, if you don't know that, then you're going to really struggle. So, you know, to that point, and getting back to your original question, you know, the why behind, you know, why do I, you know, have we always had that, I guess, kind of like support for each other and everything? Because our parents did a really good job at it. We have phenomenal examples on both sides. Her parents, I mean, are literal angels on earth. You know, they are the sweetest people I've ever met. They've been married, gosh,
51 years now, or 50 years.
51 years, yeah. And then, of course, my parents had got married in 71, so math, 55 years? Yeah. So over a century of combined marriage between the two sets of parents. So when we look to how do we treat each other, it's like, well, I have a stellar example to look to at my side. She has one on hers, and so then it's the thing of, okay, well, we just need to do what they did, and we should be at least halfway there. And so even on the days where we don't execute perfectly, and 10 times out of 9, that's on me, you know, we still are the majority of the way there, because we have that core thing of, I'm going to respect you, you know, number one, as my wife, but number two, just as a human. You know, we're not in competition with each other. I don't have to win at her expense. And so we've learned to be very good at just kind of like, all right, you're having a sucky day? That's great. You can go do that. Skedaddle. You know, I'll go race upstairs or whatever. You know, I'll go find something to do.
I love what both of you guys said earlier that our kids are watching, right? A lot of time we think the kids will do what we told them to do, but actually they do what we do, right?
They observe.
So it's like a duplication of our habit, and if we carry bad habits, they will carry bad habits, exactly the same thing, even though we told them a million times, right? So actually you are also duplication of both your parents. Your parents set a good example, and you want to set a good example for your children too.
Right.
In fact, we've been very careful and very intentional about not going to mom and dad when we have a fight. We had a handshake agreement from the very beginning. You know, discussions are discussions internal, and that's it.
Right.
Because it's very difficult to claw out of that allegiance that a parent is going to have to their child. And so if you go to them and you present yourself as a wounded bird, they're going to be in defensive mode from that point on. And they're going to see your spouse as a potential disruptor to your happiness. Well, you don't want that. So we never went to them and said, Mom and Dad, how would you do this, or anything like that. But we always knew that they, you know, were watching. So, I mean, it was kind of the thing of, we wanted to do them proud, I think, as well. We wanted to make them proud and make them feel like that they had invested in us correctly and had done a good job of raising us.
And both families had God in the center of it all.
100%.
And that's what for sure has been the foundation. And we wanted to carry that on. to our children and to let God be the center of everything. And I think that's what has kept our foundation so strong.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, there's something in recruiting people on your side of the argument that makes it about you, not the discussion at hand, right? And so, like, if it's more important for me to have support in an argument than it is for me to understand why we're arguing, that's probably an indicator of a character flaw from the get-go, right?
I want to maintain his image too, you know.
Right.
You should never go and rat about your husband. You should always bring him up, you know. Share the good, not the bad. You know, just like is the glass half empty or half full? How you're looking at things. You know, I never want to ever tear him down, especially amongst friends or family. I always want to make sure that, you know, I'm supporting him and loving him. And yeah, we have our bad days, but we have a ton of good days too.
A ton of good days. I realize she's human, right? I realize, and so I think a lot of people get discouraged and disappointed when they put people on a pedestal where God should be. You know, and so it's a thing of they're not going to be able to do everything for you. They're a human navigating their own struggles. And so we have a joke at work, you know, if you keep your expectations subterranean, you don't have far to fall. You know,
true.
but it's not that I have like gutter expectations for her or anything like that. But it's honesty with the fact that, hey, we're both humans, right? And so, like, if she's coming home and having a bad day, okay, well, am I immune to that? No, of course not. You know, there's days where you want to throw a teddy bear across the room as well, right? So it's like, okay, am I better than her? No, okay, well, then quit being a turd. You know, she's you know, she's navigating stuff today. I'm going to respectfully bow out, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. You know, and really, that's how we started our relationship. Our journey was not like this wildly like passionate thing from the get-go. It was more of a thing of mutual hatred for love. You know, it was we had both gotten out of really rotten relationships and had seen really how, you know, the worst of the worst can happen. And so when we were first talking and first got to know each other, it was, we had approached each other from this like, hey, you miserable? I'm miserable. Cool. Let's be miserable together. Right. You know, it was kind of a compare notes about how much, you know, lovebirds are terrible and everything else. And then we would that wasn't the only thing we talked about. And we had a lot of stuff in common and everything else. And the friend circles where there was a lot of overlap because, you know, we had the college group at World Outreach. And so we kind of hung out through all that. So it just became this thing where it's like, okay, with time, it's like, you know, you feel it at a certain point. It's like, man, I'm shifting towards, you know, and of course, I mean, you can't blame me because look at her, right? You know, so it's not like it was a hard sell. I wasn't, you know, twisting my arm behind my back or anything, but there was a point where I was like, crap, this guy's taking over, right? And
I was just focused on my relationship with God at that point.
Right.
That was the closest I've ever been. I got baptized around that time. So that was my main focus. And, you know, we were friends and it was like one day I had prayed about it. I was like, I don't know why John's in my life.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some reason. I honestly didn't have any attraction because I wasn't looking for that. And it was the next time I saw him.
And I'm a 6, and so she's like, I'm not really attracted to him now. So
the next time I saw him, it was like, that's a feeling. That was not there.
Right.
And that just grew. And I brought him around my family. And my grandpa was the one who really sealed the deal. He had pulled me to the side and was like, this John guy, there's something there. He's like, I really like him. And it was like, from then on, I was like, all right, grandpa approval.
Yeah.
Wow.
Papa was my guy. I love Papa.
Yeah. And it was 6 months after that. And he asked me to marry him. I definitely thank God that I was in the season of receptive to his word.
So my husband and I, we met Jesus really, really late in our life. he believed Buddhism and I was atheist. So I know the transformation of our life and even our marriage, because we met Jesus after we got married. It transformed our marriage, our relationship dramatically. So when you talk about you were soaking the word of God and you were focusing on Jesus. So I just want to make sure our audience know you believe Jesus Christ is as
100%.
Lord.
Yeah.
You saw this man through the lens of Bible, right? And then you saw the goodness of it. I think you guys carrying very healthy relationship. Started out very well. And also the reason you have a mutual respect is because you have a common foundation.
For sure.
And that's what my husband said when he became Christian. I remember he just baptized that day and on the way home from church. And I asked him, say, how do you feel? And he said, well, now we have a common foundation. So important.
Yeah.
Because when we don't have a same foundation, we started up one from here, one from here. And it's hard to meet somewhere, right?
Right.
So that everything built on top of it is very strong.
It's a really good way to put it, yeah, because I hadn't thought of it that way. It's almost like if you're connecting an archway between two old stone structures, you know what I mean? Because like if the structures are solid, that arch is not going anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's really because we had, I mean, from infancy, literally, I mean, from as old as I can remember, my parents always were prioritizing their faith. And I know the same for hers as well. I don't think you've ever known a time where they didn't chase Jesus. And so, so that was rare. And that was one of the things, I mean, I joke about, you know, like I can't let her get away because she's a 15 out of 10. But it was ultra rare to find somebody who would be that committed to the Lord and it not be an act. You know, it wasn't some facade. She wasn't trying to do it to get, you know, just some Christian suitor at college group. You know, that was her. That was authentically Kim. And so I think that's yet another thing that's, you know, anytime she commits to do something, I'm always like full blessing, full confidence, because I know you're going to execute, because that's just Kim. She's authentic with what she says she's going to do. So,
and he's also a good supporter, regardless of if he thought I could do it or not. He's always going to be there to encourage me.
Yeah. I mean,
no matter what.
If I don't believe in you, then it's like, you know, what am I doing, right? What is my role in your life if I'm going to be a dissuader and a dream killer, you know? So, because there's plenty of people in life that will talk you out of excellence. You know, and I think we briefly hit all that earlier about like, you know, when you don't want to see someone win, typically it's a reflection of you.
Right.
You know, so like if I have sour grapes and somebody's out there kicking butt and I'm offended by their excellence, that's on me, right? One of the things that I always talk about with my students at World Outreach as well is, you know, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Absolutely.
And so you need to be very honest with yourself and take stock of who are those people you're around. I mean, because there's a lot of dudes, I think, get twisted because they're around other dudes that are miserable with their wives. You know, and so if they are going through a tough time, because everybody goes through tough times, we're not immune to that. We go through times where it's like you got to lock in. You got to be like,
life.
Yeah. So I don't want to paint the picture to any of the viewers that, you know, we're just this, you know, old school Beaver Cleaver style household where everything's prim and proper and swept up and perfect. No, there's days where all the plants in the room die, you know, because we're mad. But, you know, we grab our grounding point is back to God. It's back to each other and back to supporting. So I try to be very intentional about the people that I'm hanging out with. And so that's why, like, in the gym, I don't seek people who are on again, off again, hating the journey. I'm wanting to find who's IFBB pro in my gym. There's a lot at Gold's. You know, we're blessed to be at a gym where there's so many like sleeper champions there. People you would never realize. And it's like, yeah, I've got a pro card. And it's like, okay, I need to hang out with you more, right? Because I need, whatever you're on, I need, you know. So that's kind of the same thing I try to do in every aspect of life. If I want to be a better fisherman, I need to hang out with the guys that are winning tournaments. But
we often hear if you are the most successful people in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to know where you will be in 5 years, you need to look at 5 most closest person in your life.
So true.
Because you will be the average of them.
Yeah. And I would say even like podcasts would qualify as that, because like if you have, let's say you're not, you know, a super extroverted person, but you have 3 close friends and you have a podcast you listen to daily. Okay. Is that podcast directing you towards improvement? Or is that podcast a Misery Loves Company podcast? Because there's billions of podcasts out there, this. And there's some of them where it's like, everybody just kind of commiserates, and then there's the other one where it's like they're continually pushing, I'm thinking of like Jocko, for example, for us guys. That's one of those where, it's not fancy, it's black and white. You know what I mean? Everybody knows Jocko's voice. He's Jocko, right? But you never walk away from one of those podcasts feeling defeated. You feel empowered. You're like, I can go out there and kill it and drag it home. I can get life by the scruff of the neck and do this, And so that's the type of influence you need in your life. The good friends, the people that are doing better than you, quite frankly. I mean, I very much am intentional with putting myself in rooms with people who are killing it, and if, like you said, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, that's a bad room because, I don't need to be that guy.
Yeah. A lot of time we don't want to be in the room like that, right? Because it's very uncomfortable. It's like I'm defeated by everybody else. But the growth will be in that role, actually.
That's where the growth is. And growth isn't comfortable. I mean, I've said that to my kids a lot as well. Growth does not occur in a comfort zone.
Right.
Never does.
Nothing grows in the comfort zone.
Nothing grows.
It's even like in the gym.
Absolutely.
Pushing yourself.
Yeah, there's so many parallels that you can use with faith and fitness. And I think that's one thing that's resonated with her. I don't want to speak for her all the time, but that's one thing I think has really resonated with her is that there's so many metaphors that can apply to both your faith and fitness. Because like say if you're in a point where you're just comfortable. I mean, Alan talks about this all the time. About people who get saved and then they stay in infancy of Christianity for all their life. And then they get to the pearly gates in a binky and diapers and and they're like holding a rattle. It's an embarrassing way to arrive. You know what I mean? If you were saved at the age of 30, okay, you've had 50 years to grow and hone yourself. Why have you not improved? And so same thing in a gym. If you're not pushing to failure, you're not growing. Otherwise you're just going in there every day and doing a nice warm up. Well, good job, but you're not going to grow.
Well, I think that Tony Robbins said one time, he said, if there's no growth, actually we're retarded. We're moving back.
Yes.
There's no middle
100%.
line. We stay still. It's either grow or pushing back.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to ask you about that faith part. Like I said, my husband and I, we became Christian. So we intentionally put our kids in that environment because we know how important it is. We already tasted a whole lot the other side of the grass. So we know how good it is side, right? But also over the years, my concern or sometimes could be fear to you is our children cannot ride the same bridge of our faith, right? They have to have their personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And I like to ask both of you guys, actually, you grew up in Christian family, very good, similar, very good family environment. But at some point, you probably also need to create that relationship or had a relationship with Jesus. What was your turning point of that?
I think once I got into college, it was my choice. I had to make the choice of, do I want to go to church? My parents aren't taking me. And luckily I had surrounded myself with, like you said, the 5 close friends, where they grew up in church as well.
Yeah.
So we continued to go. As I got older, and in college, I was like, as I start dating and stuff, what kind of man do I want? It gets more serious as you get older. You can have fun when you're young, but it's like, okay, are we dating for just fun or for real? And I was like, this is the relationships I had been in. I was like, this is not who I'd want to be with, not who I want to raise my, children with. And the relationships that had ended, I was like, thank goodness. And that was a big turning point for me and what brought me closer to God, because I was like, this is not the way I wanted to go. This is not the journey. This is not the direction I want to go, and I need God's guidance. So that's when I got closer to God, and he directed me towards John. But that was kind of my turning point, is some bad relationships that thankfully I made out of, but ultimately turning back to God, because I had that foundation as a child, that, you know, you're going through a tough time. Who do you lean on? God's always going to get you out of it. So that was kind of my turning point.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, so I mean, I was involved from church from a very, very early age, and I got saved at an early age. I you know, gave my life to Jesus at the age of 9 or 10. So it was one of those things where I was like old enough for sure to be understanding and cognizant of what was going on. But at the ripe old age of, let's just call it 10, you know, you haven't had a lot of life and heartbreak under your belt, you know, and so things have been pretty smooth and pretty easy. And so my view of Jesus was that of like just a step higher than your father, basically. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I saw my dad pray and I saw my dad take his faith very seriously. But I mean, as a 9-year-old, you're just like, there's this heavenly being that we're praying to. You know, there's a lot of faith in that just existing. I mean, as it does, you know, currently everything's about faith. But I hadn't really had to test my mettle, so to speak, you know. And so as I got into later high school, early college, throughout college, really, I got into a point where it was almost an arrogance, a hubris in a way of like, I can do these things that other people have struggled with, and I won't struggle because I'm me. Okay, so that was arrogance 101, you know, that was a pride thing. And so it was like, okay, well, they've gone out there and they've played with fire and have done all the things that college kids do, but they got bit because they were sloppy with it or whatever. Well, no, it has nothing to do with being sloppy. When you're being rebellious, sin will destroy you, right? Mm-hmm. And so it took me probably a little bit longer than it took her to realize, because I'm hard-headed and stubborn. But I eventually did figure out that, okay, beating your head against the wall and trying to make sin work as a Christian is not going to work. And I always felt, even when I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, so to speak, and I felt in place with them, and, you know, like I felt like a chameleon in a way, I felt this deep-seated, you know, like, this isn't you. Mm. You're not being authentic to who you are. And, you know, like it says in the Bible, a spring can't produce bitter water and clean water at the same time. So it's like, I had this kind of crossroads of, you know, I had been voluntold to work with youth at World Outreach. This is back in the good old days where you could just, someone could sign you up because they thought it was good for you. And so I literally had that happen. And as a good old Southern gentleman, I was like, well, I got to commit. You know, I'm not going to tell them no. But that very quickly highlighted the dichotomy in my life. I was like, okay, I can't have this juxtaposition of living for myself as a college kid and teaching kids how to chase Jesus. That literally cannot coexist. And so luckily made the smart choice to get rid of all the nonsense and stop, you know, getting blackout drunk and all that good stuff. I say good stuff with air quotes. And because there are a core, you know, there's a select few people in my life that have seen that whole sine curve of, you know, early righteousness, and then, and I say that very loosely as well, you know, that the pursuit of righteousness, I guess, and then the pursuit of all things other than that, and then a slow drift back to where I needed to be as a believer, right? And so then the faith really started becoming real for me again, and I mean like real, like 2007, 2008. I had some people at World Outreach that invested in me. Nathan Akers is one of them. And he was one of the select few people that saw me where I was, and he was like, this isn't you. And he's like, I understand you're out there, you know, you got to paint the town yellow, do the whole thing. But he's like, this ain't you. You know, he's like, you're a child of God, and you need to understand that identity, and that's you. So he leaned into me. Andrea was one. She was the aunt that I never had. And so she invested in me as well. And so there was, like I say, I could go down the list. There's like a dozen people that really poured in and said, you know what, you're better than this. We want to see you rise to this occasion. And so I would have some stumbles here and there for the next few years, but really meeting her solidified that journey and got me back on trajectory of putting Christ first.
So that is why you've been serving at the church so many years. Mm-hmm. I remember you raised both my children. Yes, they went through in your class. It's been for, I don't know, over 10 years could be? Is it closer to you?
Longer than that. So, 2005 is when I started. So,
Right.
yeah.
Basically, what you said is a consistency, right? We're consistently doing something. The reason I named this channel as the Inch Journey is we're making inch change
Yes.
every day. Actually, at the end of 10 years, we're making dramatic change.
Huge
Even
change, yeah.
just one change, 1 inch change, if we consistently keep that, then our life will change dramatically.
Correct.
That's what I realized in the past 7 years. I was doing homeschooling, and when we make one single decision, for example, if I want to run full marathon, 26 miles, actually anybody can run 26 miles without training. It's one decision to make, right?
Yeah.
But if we decide to run 1 mile every day, the rest of my life, that is hardest decision to make.
Yeah.
So that is a consistency when you put it in.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we read the 3-time Bible within 3 months and then the rest of my life is saved.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Yeah.
I'd like to know how you prioritize your day.
So our biggest thing I think is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So food is the biggest thing. Making sure that it's accessible, that you've pre-cooked it.
Yeah.
So our biggest thing that we do is our meal prep. We go ahead and plan our meals. We cook in bulk, and then we put them in bowls.
Once a week.
Yeah,
Multiple
a couple
times,
times
yeah.
a week because we eat a lot.
Okay.
So
Cannot
just
tell.
having that already done
Yeah.
it changes the game.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have that meal and you're like, I need this food, where am I going to get it from? That's where a lot of people have a tendency to like fail because they have not planned properly.
And there are no good clean options hardly anywhere. I mean, you know, like the meal that you think is 400 calories is really 1,000. You know, at like restaurants out and things like that. You know, when you think you're doing healthy, it's baptized in butter. You know, and so there's we give ourselves a lot of grace. It's like, you know, we eyeball a lot of stuff. Like Sundays are big days for us to meal prep and get some stuff knocked out. You know, I'll go out there. I'm manning the grill, all weather, all times of the day. You know, to get things done because it really matters. Because if we don't have those meals,
I think nutrition is the biggest thing that holds people back from
100%.
reaching their goals.
Yeah.
They think in their head, I can't do that. When it's really simple, it takes some time to understand and, you know, to some time, prioritize time, to set aside and actually cook the meals. But once you cook them in bulk, it's really easy to dish them out. You weigh them out and you can have your whole day. The next day, you just literally put it in a bag and go.
Yeah.
And that's a complete game changer. If we didn't do that, then absolutely it would be hard to attain any kind of goal we had.
I think variety too. So like I'm big on, like, I get bored with stuff a lot, food wise and everything else. And so the more you are a slave to variety having to be a thing in your life, the harder it is for you to do those preps and everything else. When you just kind of buckle down and you look at it, because she does a much better job of this than I do. She looks at food as a tool, not a crutch emotionally, you know. And so like if I've had a bad day, my old school thing was I just go get a calorie, serotonin in the form of calories, you know, and so and eat the bad day away. And she's never had that vice really, but yeah, if you could, the simpler you can keep it, and it's really the same with faith, honestly. If you try to get ornate with it, you know, and I need to go out here and beat a drum in the backyard while it's raining and stuff,
Then you're never going to do it.
my gosh, yeah,
Sure.
But if it's simple, repeatable, I'm going to read for 10 minutes a day. Inch Journey, you know.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to read and understand and do a study on James every
Don't
day.
overcomplicate.
You know, and if you're having a bad day, as Alan says, don't read James, right? You're going to have a worse day. But, you know, to that point, it's like, you know, you're not doing a full spa day every time you take a shower. You know, you're in and out, right? And so same thing with your food, same thing with your faith. The simpler and more repeatable you can make it, the more likely you are to stick to it. So, yeah.
So the food is a tool. It's not a present.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us eat
That was the
food as a
biggest battle for
present.
me. And honestly speaking, it's, you know, when you're starving in prep and you're 5 weeks out from the show and you could literally eat the pillow.
So how did you shift that? Were you like that from the beginning?
I think it all started, you know, after having kids, more conscious about what we're feeding our children. And I didn't want them to eat bad. So we really got into prioritizing more healthy options. And we saw the benefits of that, more cleaner meals or just single ingredient foods. If we saw labels, I mean, our kids know we look at labels. We see labels that are like the entire package.
30
It's
on
like,
there, yeah.
that's probably not even real food.
Yeah. I used to wash down Red 40 with Red 40, you know, so I mean, I would eat a Pop-Tart and drink a Red Mountain Dew with it at work, and then wonder why I was like, moments where I would just completely flake out, you know, and I've always kind of been the one that I've always been the funny chubby guy, you know, or just, I've always been just sturdy. I'll put it that way. You know, the Scottish genes are strong, you know, so we're built for the plow, not the stage. And so I've always just kind of done self-deprecating humor to mask that unhappiness with myself over the years. But that's, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I realized that, you know, the food is a tool, and it's, it can either help you or hurt you. And so it'd be silly to keep hurting yourself.
So that's where it all started with our nutrition, is after our kids understanding that, okay, we don't want to give them bad things. We want to give them things that help grow their body and that are going to be beneficial to them.
Yeah.
And then we just started, once I jumped into the prep season, understanding how you can use food to help grow, and the importance of it behind the nutrition. That really makes all the difference.
It's critical.
So you don't reward them with the food.
So the kids, yeah, they're still at that age where like our priority is getting them to eat their meals fully. So unfortunately at this age, you have to reward them with their little treat at the end of the meal, which, you know, we'll do like little gummies or whatever, you know, that they have in their little thing, you know, so it's not a bag of gummies. You can get to go have a couple, you know, and
We don't want a bad relationship with food. We just want them to be knowledgeable of what they're consuming.
yeah. Because like, and that's one thing that I was talking to Kim about, and we're definitely equally yoked on this as well, is that I don't ever want my children, either one of them, to ever have that unhealthy view of I've eaten this, therefore I'm bad, or, you know, like have a negative self-image, or because I think a lot of people get that twisted as well. They think, okay, bodybuilders are just not, you know, they're vain, they're, you know, they're hyper focused on image.
It's not good for the healthy health. Like they don't.
Yeah, it's like an unhealthy obsession. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and that happens.
You can make it that way for sure.
Yeah. But we're trying our dearest, I'll put it that way, to, you know, to have the other interpretation of that, to where we're using it just as a means of how do we stay healthy. It's a means of calibration for me. Right. So like, you know, up in engineering, you know, I know your husband's an engineer as well. And so, you know, engineering is nothing without good data and calibration, you know, and if there's no standard, if it can't be measured, it can't be managed, you know, so what are we doing, right? If you're not holding to a standard, it's going to be sloppy. And so I don't want to be sloppy. I don't want to, you know, look sloppy. And so luckily bodybuilding, the standard is the standard. It's very unforgiving. It's not about your feelings. This last show, you know, I jumped up there and I mean, it was very abundantly clear that I was not the best conditioned person on stage. Other factors kind of elevated my score a little bit, but as far as like conditioning, there was not a soul on stage in the judges or anybody that was like, man, you came in peeled. Everybody's like, yeah, if you had only come in a little bit more peeled, you'd be great. You know, and so it was very honest feedback in that. So the standard is glaring in that case. And so we use the standard as a reason to adhere to the diet.
I love you put that as public. You said you want to do you do the bodybuilding and you post it, right?
Yeah.
I heard so many
Keep them accountable.
Yeah.
Right. I heard so many times they said the successful people said if you have a plan B always become plan A.
Yeah. Once you give yourself permission to fail, you may as well accept that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so then it's like, well, John, what do you classify as failure? It's like, well, you know, you can't look at a specific position, because I know some people who just, I mean, there was a competition yesterday where their work ethic was second to none, but their placement was second, third, fourth, you know, and so it's who shows up on that day, not necessarily what you've done. What you've done is a big factor, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's, did you present your best self? And can you look yourself in the mirror and say, that was my best? And if you look yourself in the mirror and you have doubts and you know when you slipped, then you know you didn't bring your best. And so then it's a thing of, okay, same thing with our faith. Did I bring my best for Jesus today? And if someone looks themselves in the mirror today and says yes, then I'm going to be like, let me shake your hand, and how did you do it? You know what I mean? Because I think every person I talk to today, pastors, et cetera, I'll be like, hey, has everything you've done today been as good as it could possibly be for Jesus? They're going to look at the floor for a second, and then they're going to answer you and say, probably not. You know, so it's the same thing with building. I mean, you know, if your fitness journey, there's always a moment where you have that little slight misstep, miscue, and you're like, that could have been better. That wasn't my best. So
What would you like to say to someone who said, I'm busy, no time?
if someone does have time and they're just whining, stop whining. Right? I mean, because let's be honest. Because I mean, like there's many days where I like don't want to go, or I probably don't have time. I probably need to prioritize sleep. It really just comes down to, what do you want? What's your why? You know, if you're just doing this for Instagram
And how bad
likes,
do you want it?
yeah, that's the thing. If you're just doing this for likes on Instagram, that stuff's fleeting anyway. I mean, if Instagram went away tomorrow, are you still going to be a fit person?
You have to want it.
You have to want to do it, right? So you have to. It's a thing of, you know.
I think everybody gets to a point,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to get to a point where you're like, I really want to do this
Yeah.
to make that switch.
Yeah, regardless of the accolades. Because like if Instagram died tomorrow, I'm still going to be nuts obsessed about fishing. I'm going to get the kayak out on the river, and I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. and do it and love it, right? She would never wake up at 3 a.m. to go fish, ever. But, you know, me, I'd be like, heck yeah, it sounds like a party, right? So you have to, again, it's priorities. It's how you want to do that.
Right. I want to ask some more fun question to close this.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So who is more disciplined?
1000%. Yeah. No question.
Say who motivates?
She motivates me. I'll put it this way: because she is more disciplined, that discipline motivates me. Because if I, just to the point where you were saying earlier about like if so and so is at the gym and I need to let them know I'm at the gym, I live with her. Can't hide this. You know what I mean? So if I'm
Like, you want to work out?
if I'm elbow deep in an Oreo
Like,
bag
yeah.
tomorrow, it's a problem, right? Especially if we're both in training for a show prep or something. So, if I miss the gym 3 days in a row, she knows, So that motivates me because I don't want to.
It's accountability.
It's accountability. I don't want to disappoint her.
We were good with accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to, before kids, be in the gym together every single day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
And there were a lot of days where like, do you want to go? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh.
Right.
He's like, get in the car.
Yeah.
And there's days where he's like, I really don't want to go. I'm like, get in. So our accountability has helped kind of keep us in the game.
Yeah.
That's why I think equally yoked makes a big difference.
That's so true.
Yeah.
If you have someone who's not into the gym or working out or faith, it's hard to keep up yours and
That's
to stay
how-
motivated.
Yeah, that's how my husband and I, we normally runs our life too. We all go through life, but at a different pace, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And when he is stressed, he's not feeling right, then I'm on the same different state, and we motivate each other. And a lot of times say, "Oh, you want to go to the gym?" Even though I'm like, I even didn't think about it. Okay, let's go because he asked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
awesome.
So favorite cheat meals? Do you even cheat meals now?
So, kind of like the way my coach has taken her stance on this, because I used to say cheat meal all the time, but she has this idea or this concept that there is no bad food. It's just how you use it, right?
Right.
And so obviously pizza is going to have a different caloric or metabolic impact to your body than a piece of kale would. But is one superior to the other, or is it are you sinning if you have a piece of pizza? I really don't, and that's the thing too. Like, we're trying to be careful with like our kids.
Yeah, you don't want to view food as bad.
Yeah, neither a crutch nor a hindrance, if that makes sense. Like if you abuse anything, if you chug 9 gallons of water, you'll die from different things. So
Really wouldn't be a cheat meal. We'd just say a deviation from our normal.
yeah, just I call it an untracked meal. But yeah, definitely have a favorite one. Pizza's mine by far.
Burger and fries. is
Yeah,
mine.
and burger and fries desserts. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. That's good to hear too. And okay, do you have any least favorite workout?
Oh gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
Bulgarian split squats.
Actually, grown to love those. I hate squats. I just hate squats.
Squats in general. I mean, like straight bar squats.
They're one of my least favorite.
I've fallen out of love with those things because it's just, at my age, it's a really good way to compress your spine. before you do anything else. You know what I mean? So when you start dealing with big boy weights, you know, and you start slapping 315 plus on there, it's a really good way to just injure yourself spine wise. And I mean, you know, my lifting buddies would be like, all right, that's what a weak person would say. Probably. But you know, that's, I don't know. I feel like there's other ways you can target that same muscle group safer at our age.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, okay, let's say I put up, you know, 500 some odd pounds and I go out there and squat that. Well, then when I slip a disc next week or whatever, I tweak my back, they're not going to be there helping that. You know what I mean? So a lot of that's kind of the ego thing. So yeah, squats are probably like straight bar squats. Love them and hate them at the same time. I mean, they're rewarding. You can definitely feel them, but a pendulum squat hits it probably better and is safer, you know? So yeah. And then of course, cardio. Is cardio the workout?
I don't mind cardio too much.
Ugh.
Too bad.
Yeah. Not a cardio fan, you know? Because to me, it feels like I'm spinning my wheels going nowhere, you know, because you literally are. You're just burning energy just to burn
I like
it.
getting
So,
a book. It's
yeah.
But do you
A
need to do a
downtime.
lot of cardios?
Yeah.
Different.
Mhm.
So I guess you already said. So Kimberly wake up first, and you and I out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Who apologized first then?
Who apologizes first? I don't know. I'd say I'm definitely obviously the yapper. I'm probably, would you agree I'm probably more vocal about feelings?
yes, for sure.
So yeah. So like if I'm,
He'll go ahead and take the blame.
yeah, like I'll figure out like, you know, okay, I probably spun myself up into this argument or this discussion or whatever we've had. I've probably,
He puts it back on him, even if it's not his fault.
yeah. Because I'm looking at it, you know, again, I'm a Jocko subscriber, right? So it's like, okay, extreme ownership. Is there anything I could have done better to have made this less terrible? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So I could have been more understanding. I could have been more patient. I could have been whatever. So yeah, I'd say probably I'm the first to apologize. And I'm definitely the pursuer of clarity in discussions is a good way to put it. You know what I mean? Like I'm always the one like, well, how do we fix this right now? You know? And I think that's just a personality thing of me being a fixer, because I don't like unfinished business. And so if I feel like we're going to bed angry, I'm like, stop. We're having to talk right now. It's late. I don't care. We're talking, you know? So yeah.
I think we are opposite.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see the personality difference that, because we feel like every time we go through the situation, it's so personal, right? I am going through this because what I'm dealing with. But actually, everybody going through the situation, going through the life.
Right.
It's just we're just different.
Yeah.
I think I have one last question. Can you describe each other?
I'd say John's faithful. He, whatever he says he's going to do, he's going to do. He's an awesome friend.
I appreciate that.
He's trustworthy. I could go on and on.
Genuine is the first word that comes to mind for her. So she is genuinely who she says she is. It's authentic. There's an authenticity with Kim that you don't find with a lot of people, because a lot of people have a facade and you're like, oh, they're really nice in person, but then behind closed doors, are they rotten? No, Kim is Kim. This Kim that you're seeing right here in front of God and everybody is the Kim behind closed doors. This isn't some
That's
act.
the same with him.
You know, this isn't for the camera, so to speak. This is who she is, and that consistency is what's really been resonating with all of her friends and everybody she's met along the way. Because everyone, like, this is her brand. This is who she is. You know, she's caring, she's considerate, she's compassionate, she's empathetic, obviously loyal, faithful, etc. I mean, she's everything that you would want in a wife, and then some. So, phenomenal human.
And that's the same for John.
Beautiful.
He's a great man.
I love this. I think I can keep going for like hours. You guys carrying so much inner beauty
I appreciate that.
and through your vocabulary what you use and through the way you look at each other, and it's just beautiful. And I can see how your children will turn out
Yeah.
to be because of the parenting. A lot of time our children will become who we are, right? And the generation curse, what the Bible said, is so true. It's not because the curse we put it in, it's the parents that carry through the life, and they carry through their children's life as well. And I think you guys building phenomenal family and set a good example in the community as well. And I'm so grateful to meet you and call you as a friend.
Likewise.
And
Absolutely.
thank you so
Appreciate
much
that.
for coming to the show too. To everyone watching, I hope you get some encouragement today and keep making those 1-inch steps. We'll see you again next time.